Hello and welcome to session 4 of History, Year 5 History with me, Mrs. Furby. It is lovely to have you back. I hope you're good, I hope you're well, and I hope you're ready to go. So last lesson we were looking at the characteristics of the Anglo Saxons and we were looking at their legal system, and we looked at the different punishments and things that you could have had in the Anglo Saxon era. Today we're going to be looking at the changes that happened and what happened when the Vikings came, because it wasn't all smooth sailing for our Saxons. So again, all you need is pen and paper today. So new vocab check. First word is continuity. Continuity means keeping things the same. So it continues its continuity, keeping things the same. Change is when things become different to how they were before. So we're going to be looking at the things that stayed the same and the things that were different. Okay, so they're the important words for today's session. So we're going to start looking at the raiders from the sea and the Vikings. It gets really interesting. We have learned that the Anglo-Saxons ruled England for around 600 years, from the end of the Roman era to the Battle of Hastings in 1066. However, it was not all smooth sailing. Around 789, 3 long, low ships appeared off the coast of Wessex. Imagine they looked a little bit like this, but much, much bigger. Okay. The local official rode out to meet them and be peaceful with them, but these people that appeared off the coast killed him. This was the first Viking raid, and this was a long, long series of raids. The attackers would come, they stripped settlements of valuables, killed anyone in their way, and then sailed off again. They became known as the Vikings and sailed from parts of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. For the next 60 years, shiploads of Vikings arrived in spring and summer when the weather was good to seize everything they could and destroy everything else they couldn't take with them. So they weren't going to leave anything behind. It was really quite a horrible, scary time, and no one was really sure where the Vikings were going to land. So they came all the way around. Some of them went over to Ireland, some of them came down here, they came down to the south, and it was really quite hard. Okay. So, first challenge for today. This is a fastest finger first. As quick as you can you spot 3 things that the invaders are doing to the Saxons in this picture? What 3 things can you see? Just shout them at the screen. I know I can't hear all of you all at the same time, but shout them at the screen anyway. So you can see down here, in this part of it down here, let me get the pen going. And I'm going to do my colouring thing in. That's how pen today. So down here, we've got a Viking attacking a monk. Over here, the Vikings are stealing things. Here, they are attacking and killing people. They have set the buildings on fire over here. They are leading the people away, leading the monks away from their monastery over here. They've obviously killed some monks down here. People are running away. Not great. This scene shows a Viking raid on a monastery, a religious building where monks lived. Okay, monks were very peaceful people. They didn't attack people, but because they were very peaceful and religious, they often had very expensive things that they housed for other people in the village. The raiders are stealing these valuable objects, capturing or killing the local people, and then setting fire to the buildings. What did the Saxons do in return? Do you think the Saxons just let the Vikings come? This brought a lot of fear and panic to the Saxons. The people didn't know how to fight off the Vikings, as they couldn't build an army and wait for them because they didn't know where they would land next. The coast of England is huge, and you just didn't know where they were going to be. And it didn't matter how many lookout points you had, you couldn't have everybody in the right place at the same time. Instead, the Saxons prayed and hoped God would do something, but nothing changed. The raids continued to happen, and many Saxons believed that God was punishing them because he wasn't protecting them. The first image, this one up here, shows King Edmund of East Anglia, who was captured by the Vikings in 869 and killed by the Vikings. The second is an image of the Viking weapons that were found in London. Okay, so you can see these axes. The wooden handles are new handles because the original wood would have decomposed a long time ago, but you can see how big and how sharp those blades must have been for the axes. Things went from bad to worse for the Anglo-Saxons. In 851, things changed again. The first time the Vikings didn't sail away after the summer. So until this point, they came, they raided, they left. This time they stayed, they camped, and then they really started to build structures. In the mid-860s, they were starting to conquer Britain from the north and the east. They were also attacking Scotland. We're going to look at why the Vikings did this and why they chose to settle next lesson. These attacks didn't happen to everyone all at one time. Large parts of Anglo-Saxon England were never conquered by the Vikings, but where they did conquer, it was very, very scary. This is one of the reasons why historians debate, so they have a bit of an argument, about whether this time period should be called the Anglo-Saxons or the Vikings. But most agree that because the Anglo-Saxons, on the whole, didn't lose their power until the Battle of Hastings when the Normans came along, the Vikings didn't defeat them. So it is still called the Anglo-Saxon period by most people, but some people call it Vikings. But these bits in green is where they didn't settle. They didn't conquer these bits. They didn't attack here, or they weren't successful when they did. So we're going to look at push and pull factors. Okay, so we're going to look at reasons why the Vikings raided Britain, not why they settled, why they raided in the first place. And a push factor is something that they are living with at home and is pushing them away and pushing them into something different. And a pull factor is something when they get there, they're like, oh, this is really good. I'm going to stay here for this. So what I want you to do is I've got these different ones on the screen. You can just number them or say what colour they are. So you've got black, green, purple, pink, orange, blue and red, and I want you to decide which of them are push factors and which are pull factors. So if we look at the green one, overcrowding in their own land, so not enough land to go around, that would be a push factor. That is something that's happening in their own country, which is meaning they have to leave. There isn't enough land, they have to look somewhere else. So that's a push. Have a go, pause the screen and see if you can work out which ones are pushes and which ones are pulls. Okay, so here we go. So the push factors are things that are pushing the Vikings to raid other places. Overcrowding on their own land, so not enough to go around. Religious beliefs. Vikings believed that they had to prove they were fearless warriors to get into Valhalla, which was their kind of heaven after death. Greed. They were greedy. They knew they could steal valuable things and they could become wealthier. That was pushing them out. To prove how strong they were. If you were part of a great raid, your status back home would be increased. You'd get better land, more money, better marriage prospects, all sorts of things. The pull factors. Britain was an easy target, as the monasteries were often unguarded and unprotected on the coastline. So once they worked out that the monasteries, the monks wouldn't fight back, that pulled them back to Britain. Once they raided Britain, they realised how good the land was to grow and farm, much better than the land back home. Can you think of any more push and pull factors that might be on here? Have a think, add them if you can. So now I want you to think about what the importance of these things. And this is up to you, okay? So your order might be different to somebody else's. Which do you think is the most important reason why the Vikings raided? Okay, we're just talking about raiding, not settling. And which do you think is the least important reason? So do you think the most important reason was their religious beliefs and proving that they were fearless warriors? Or do you think the most important reason was because they were greedy? And rank them. What's the most and what's the least important? And that's up to your opinion. Okay, pause the screen, unpause when you're ready. So, what have we learned today? That even though we call the time period the Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings came and raided and settled in large parts of Britain. Vikings caused a large amount of change for the Anglo-Saxons, who then lived in constant fear of the raids. The Vikings had many reasons that pushed them into raiding Britain and pulled them to stay there when they landed. The change did not happen everywhere all at the same time. And then we looked at how to decide and debate what the most important reasons for invading are. And I'm sure if you were to compare your list to a friend of yours who's also doing this video, your list of important reasons would be a bit different. It's all about our own opinions in history. Well done for another excellent day of work. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to working with you again next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.